I want to tell you about someone I met. Her name is Jean Fletcher. She's a nurse practitioner. She has spent years doing the clinical work, seeing patients, building her expertise, doing the job she was trained to do. And then she made a decision that a lot of NPs think about and very few actually follow through on. She decided to build something of her own. She is currently enrolled in Duke University's NP Entrepreneur Program. She is in the first quarter of the year that is going to change her professional life, and she's agreed to let us follow her through every step. The wins, the hard days, the decisions she did not expect to make, the things the program is teaching her that nursing school never covered. This is episode 1 of a 4-part series, and we're calling it Becoming Nurse Practitioner Entrepreneur Series. And it falls along with our other series, Becoming a Physician with Clarence Sams, Becoming Doctor of Nursing Practice with now Dr. Demetrius Kirk, Becoming a Midwife, and Becoming an ICU Nurse with Sade. And we're documenting this one NP entrepreneur's real journey in real time so that every nurse practitioner, or even nurse who's aspiring to be a nurse practitioner watching this, who has an idea sitting in the back of their mind, knows what exactly it looks like to go from thinking about it to building it. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Dr. Kimberly Madison, a doctorally prepared nurse practitioner and the co-host of the Melanin Initiative podcast, along with Alicia and Geraldine, who send their love in their absence. We're a health literacy podcast. When we say health literacy, we're talking about your ability to obtain information, to understand that information, and then to use it to manage your health and advocate for others. Here, we simplify medical information and break it down into language that you can understand. We create a safe space to ask your questions and share a nursing perspective. We have 2 missions. The first is to promote health literacy amongst the public and amongst our peers. Second is to elevate the expertise of nurses, to bring awareness to all the diverse career opportunities in the healthcare industry, to let all of our peers know, just like Jean is going to do with us, all the different ways that you can leverage your expertise, both taking care of patients, but also as entrepreneurs. If you haven't already, this is your chance to subscribe. Give us a thumbs up, leave a comment or 2, rate us on the Apple and Spotify podcast, give us 5 stars while you're over there. Every time you engage with our platform, it shows the algorithm that this information is important, so that when people like you look for topics like this, we'll show up higher in the search results. Remember, this show is for educational purposes only. The opinions expressed here are opinions alone. We are not a representation of any of our affiliations. If you think that you are having a medical emergency, you seek medical attention and medical guidance from your healthcare provider. If you think you might be having a physical emergency, you can call 911. If you or someone you know might be having a mental health emergency, you can call 988 or text 741-741. Jean, welcome to the Melanin Initiative.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate being here today.
I'm super excited, like I told you, to be able to do this. You're going to be checking off so many boxes for us when it comes to what does it mean to be a nurse? What is the contributions of nurse practitioners? And especially because you're a woman of a certain age. And so many times as we get older, people think it's too late. And you're going to be demonstrating that that couldn't be further from the truth. You also help us bring more attention to our resources in the DMV area. Tell us where you're joining us from.
Yes, I'm coming from Prince George's County, Maryland. I work in Washington, D.C.
Yes, we are a global platform. We have a global audience. We care about the global market. But we have a special place in our heart. Me in particular, this is a love letter to my home, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. So we absolutely love when we can let people know who's right up the street. Now, before we get into your story, we want to have a little fun with you. We're doing what we call our 5 questions in 5 minutes icebreaker.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the Ikigai questions?
A little bit.
Oh, okay.
Just a little. You might
okay.
Explain it.
Yeah, so our Ikigai questions help you find your life's purpose by exploring 4 key areas guiding you to align your passion, your skill, your mission, and your profession for a very fulfilling life. Questions focus on joy, strengths, what contributions you make, problems you can solve, and what pays the bills, because we're here to talk about the money, right? Okay, so first question is, what do you love?
What do I love?
Mm-hmm.
I love nursing.
Okay. Anything else? It doesn't have to always be related to your clinical profession.
Well, I love family. Okay. You know, family is everything to me. And I love God. And I love just being. I love being able to just relax with somebody, talk, communicate. So, I'm a people person, basically, so I love being with people and talking.
What activities make you lose track of time?
What activities? Ooh, I love puzzles, believe it or not. I love puzzles, playing games, um, I think gardening. I do have a garden in my backyard, so that's definitely something that I can spend a lot of time and not even realize time has passed by. And again, just being with people talking.
Mhm. What did you enjoy doing when you were a child?
Oh, goodness. I mean, I had it's it was 5 of us for siblings, and we used to sit around and play this game where it was a name game. So again, games and everything was a lot of fun. I'm a winter baby. I was born in winter, so I love being out in the snow. I'm an outdoors person. I love being outdoors. Um, so just being playful.
I love that you mentioned the puzzles because I say all the time, if nurses, I want them to see themselves as problem solvers, not a particular role, right? I'm in the derm and cosmetic space, so I don't want them to see themselves as a cosmetic injector. I want them to see themselves as a problem solver. When you see yourself as a problem solver, you can solve any problem anywhere at any time. And you know what that puts you in position to do? Make money. Right? You can make money doing anything. And nurses have so many skills, which you're going to be demonstrating just by sharing your journey, not listing a bunch of things, just by talking, sharing your expertise and your perspective. We're going to see the skills that you bring to the table. Now, this is what you're good at. What skills come easily to you?
I'm a great listener. So that's something that just comes very natural. I don't even realize how it's difficult for some people to listen. And for me, I just I think I have a sign on my forehead that says I'm a great listener because people tend to share very personal details with me. I mean, it doesn't even have to be in the healthcare field. I could just be out in public and someone will just naturally confide things to me. So listening is a great skill that I have.
And I think that fits perfectly with nursing because I think it's our greatest clinical skill. I know we
Yes.
do all that training to meet those competencies, but I think it actually comes down to the listening.
Yes.
Now,
Absolutely.
now we move into what the world needs now and problems. So, what problems in your community or the world make you angry or very passionate?
Whew. Okay. Let me see if I can stay calm as I express these things, but I do feel like we need let me pause. I think there's a lot going on. There's a lot of people that are being mistreated, particularly our children. And our children are under attack right now. And, I keep hearing about, the Epstein files, and I just don't understand how anybody can mistreat a child, but it's happening every single day. And that's very upsetting and disturbing to me. I work with youth who are dealing with substance use, and I can share with you they're not doing it to have fun. Many of my teens are trying to escape or numb out due to the circumstances that they've experienced. And there's a lot of trauma, kids dealing with a lot of traumatic events. Those are the kind of things that really get me going. I just feel like our kids should not have to deal with some of the things they're dealing with today or any day at all.
Mhm. Yeah, I am looking forward to hearing your perspective when it comes to our youth population. That's a gap we need to fill here. And so that's another thing you'll be helping us do a lot. Now, the last question is about the money. Okay. What
Yeah.
can you be paid for? What services or products could you provide that people would pay for?
Well, Imma just be honest with you. When it comes to money, I it's something as nurses, I think we have been brainwashed to believe that, we do things out of the kindness of our heart, out of compassion, because we are compassionate beings. Um, but certainly there are different things that we can do to um, to generate money and to improve our communities at the same time. For me, it's regarding grief and trauma. I just believe that there are, ways that I can help our communities grieve because I don't think as a society we are grief illiterate. We just do not do grief very well. And when a person is grieving, uh, a lot of times there's a lot of suppression that's going on because people they're not comfortable with the feelings of grief. No one's comfortable with those feelings. But learning how to be able to express our feelings and being able to feel the feelings and support one another in that journey, I think is a blessing, and I think that would be very helpful for our community.
I agree. Thank you for participating in our Ikigai questions. We invite our audience to answer those questions for yourself and
Yeah.
to share those if you're in a position where you mentor anyone who's looking to have better understanding of how they can create a fulfilling life for themselves. Now, let's start with your background. What was your life like before nursing?
Before nursing, I was raised in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. One of 5 kids. I have a twin sister. We're identical, and we had strict parents. My mother was an educator, my father was a police officer, and, I can tell you we grew up in a strict environment, but we had a lot of fun. My childhood, to me, was a lot of fun. And then I went off to college. I went to Hampton University. Whoop, whoop. So I got my HU earrings on today, and and I had a wonderful experience at Hampton, and I always knew I wanted to go into nursing. So I went undergrad, Hampton University.
And where did you get that desire to get into nursing?
I think it was just something, really as a combination. I was just a nurturer in my family. I had the tendency of taking care of my siblings when they weren't feeling well. I had one brother who tended to break a bone almost every other year, it seemed. So I would assist him with his healing journey. And, I just really love taking care of others. So that's part of it. I did one of my aunts in my family was also a nurse, so I gained a lot of insight from her, and I just kinda knew I was gonna go into nursing when I was in high school.
Did she actually talk to you about the actual job itself and the profession?
You know what? The funny thing is I think we did talk about it, but we talked about it more as I went into nursing school and graduated from nursing school.
And did you have anyone in your life who told you about other opportunities in the industry besides nurse and doctor?
Not at all. Not at all. I think it was either it's kinda strange because my twin sister, she became an educator. So I think we just knew about nursing and education. Um, at one point, I thought about being a lawyer, but that was a very brief, idea. So, yeah, that's pretty interesting, because today I participated actually in a, health fair at my church, and I was able to talk to a lot of young people about being a nurse practitioner and how to become a nurse practitioner, and it was very well received, and I really enjoyed that. I don't recall doing anything like that when I was in high school.
Mhm. Yeah. So let's get into your nursing journey. So did Hampton have a nursing program for you?
Yes, yes, they did. They had an awesome nursing program, and it was a tremendous experience. We made lifelong connections. I still connect with a lot of my peers from Hampton. We like really respected our instructors, and it was just a fantastic experience.
And that was like a BSN four-year program?
That was my BSN into nursing, And I did the ROTC route, so I was Army Nurse Corps. I did the Army Nurse Corps I was 4 years active and 8 reserves.
Hi, I'm Alicia from the Melanin Initiative podcast. Our mission is twofold. One, to simplify complex health information so you feel empowered to ask questions, educated on how to manage your health, and confident to navigate the healthcare system. And two, to elevate the expertise of nurses, spotlight the diverse career opportunities within the healthcare industry, and inform our peers how to leverage their expertise as clinicians and entrepreneurs. In less than 2 years, we've grown to over 50,000 views and 1,000 downloads, with an international audience spanning the US, Canada, the UK, Australia, and more. Our engaged listeners are professionals, entrepreneurs aged 25 to 44 who value authentic, impactful content. Want to connect with this dynamic audience? Advertise with us. Send in your 1-minute video ad and let's amplify your brand. Email tmi.melanin@gmail.com for rates and details. Let's work together.
Okay, can you just tell us a little bit about that? Because we have had a lot of nurses on and we haven't actually had the conversation about ROTC. So do you mind giving us a little backstory on that?
Yes, it was a fantastic, for me, it was a blessing. Truly was a blessing because, again, my twin and I were the youngest of 5. So my parents are sending the last 2 to college, and, they were making a way out of no way. And I recall being approached by the ROTC program saying, "You're a nurse and you can get a scholarship." And I said, "Please tell me more about it." And I literally signed up to participate in the ROTC program. And my mother, she would say she was the last she would, excuse me, she said that out of all her children, I was the last one she would ever imagine going into the military. So it was a great programming, lots of leadership training, and a lot of different experiences that I gained. And so once I completed my BSN, I got commissioned as an Army officer.
And can you just explain to the audience what that means?
Yes, I became a military officer in the military. So I was a rank of second lieutenant. I got out as a captain. And the military has a ranking system, and it's either enlisted, it's enlisted or officers. And you can go up either ladder depending on what side you're on, but it's well respected on both sides. And I became an officer in the military, and it was a wonderful experience. I had the blessing to meet so many senior officers that were nursing, and it was just such a great way of gaining leadership skills as well as, honing in on your clinical nursing skills.
And money, right? Let's talk about the money part.
The money, as a new grad, I not only had secured housing, I had a stable income. My parents would just be in awe because I was making money that they couldn't even fathom as a new grad. And I had different benefits because being in the military, you gain benefits as well. The obligation was I had to give them 4 years of active duty experience. But again, it was active duty working on a clinical unit in the military. I was stationed at Walter Reed.
And so those benefits include, did they cover any of your tuition?
Yeah, so basically because it was a scholarship that I earned in ROTC in undergrad, they were able to pay for my schooling. So that was one blessing. And then, of course, I became a homeowner. So I had the VA benefits, and there were other benefits that I had, as well as the ability that when I was finally ready to go back and earn my master's, I had benefits from being in the military. So there were many, many benefits that I had gained from being in the Army.
And they paid for 100% of that undergrad degree?
Yes, they paid 100%. So, because I initially went into undergrad as we were paying our loan. We had a student loan. I believe my parents had got a student loan. But once I did ROTC, then they took care of those responsibilities of the loan.
And then you did boot camp?
Yeah, I did active duty boot camp. It was a boot camp for officers, so it was not as intense as you would see for other groups of people, but it was officer basic course, lots of schooling, more education, more physical training. So it was a combination of things that happened at officer basic course. And that was in Texas. San Antonio. That was a minute ago.
And you said you became a homeowner, so you used the GI Bill?
Yes, that's correct.
And you had leftover money for grad school?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay. To cover the whole thing?
Not the whole thing, but it was sufficient. It was a nice chunk that helped me.
Good, because at the time that we're having this conversation, we're having a bigger conversation publicly with the government, and our title is professional nursing. And there's a lot of conversation about us not being seen as professionals, but at the core was about money. And it was about access to loans. And they wanted to cap those loans at $100,000 because what the data was showing that when people like me were given the opportunity to get a lot of loans, that we weren't being compensated to pay back those loans. And so we would end up in debt, like myself, 6 figures in debt, which I would never tell anyone to follow that advice. And so it's important that students have the information that you're sharing, how they can afford to go to this school and then graduate and be able to build wealth, which is also what we're talking about today, entrepreneurship, because we make money in the day, but we build wealth in our sleep. And you can only do that when your money works for you as a business owner or as an investor. Shout out to John Hope Bryant, who I borrowed that from.
Okay.
So thank you. Yeah. And shout out to all our veterans. I grew up military brat on Quantico. You said a strict family. When I was born, my dad was a drill instructor at Parris Island.
Oh, wow.
And he served. I have a cousin, Frankie. My love bug just went back into be a reservist and as an officer. One of my college roommates, Dr. Erica Ewell, she served in the middle of college. Actually, she left college to do that. So long list of people. And Alicia, her dad, also served in the Marine Corps. So yeah, very special place in our heart. A lot of our episodes will take the time out to talk about vulnerable populations, and we always address our veterans. So you did your bachelor's. What made you go back and get your graduate degree?
It's interesting. I was in nursing at that time. I was working in an adolescent clinic, and I had 2 mentors who were nurse practitioners. I just admired what they were doing. I loved to see the role of the nurse practitioner, particularly one of my mentors. She was just an African American woman who I just admired so much, and I was just like, oh, I want to be like her, basically. And I decided, it was time because I have 2 children, and at the time they were getting older, and I thought I might have another one, but my husband and I decided we were good at 2. So I said, well, this is the time for me to go back to school while they were going into school at that time. So the timing was just right.
If you smoke and you want to quit, first we want you to know that quitting nicotine is one of the hardest things a person can do. Not because you lack willpower, because nicotine physically rewires the brain. This is not a character issue, this is a chemistry issue, and you do not have to do it alone. Here are your options. Nicotine replacement therapy, patches, gum, lozenges, and inhalers reduces withdrawal symptoms by giving your body a lower, controlled dose of nicotine while you break the habit. They are available over the counter. Chantix is a prescription medication that reduces cravings and makes smoking less satisfying. It is one of the most effective cessation medications available. Bupropion is another prescription option that reduces cravings and is especially helpful for people who also experience depression. Counseling and behavioral support, whether in person, by phone, or through an app, significantly improve quit success rates when combined with medication. Call 1-800-QUIT-NOW for free telephone counseling. Visit smokefree.gov for free apps and text support. And talk to your care team about which option is right for you. Quitting is possible, support is available, and you deserve both. This message is brought to you by the Melanin Initiative podcast, where we simplify health information so you can advocate for yourself and for the people you love. Find us on Apple and Spotify.
And you went to school and worked at the same time?
Yes, I did.
I have a theory that nurses, I would say 98% of us work through school, whereas I would say 2% of doctors might work through school. So when people always ask about the difference and what choice they should make, I like to point out some of these differences. Sometimes you have to work. Sometimes you don't have the ability to dedicate a decade of your life to not working or just, doing one thing. And a lot of nurses are the head of the household or the breadwinner. And so those are also things that drive our decisions when we're deciding which path to go down.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, so you decided to go back. You had this mentor. Was she actively a mentor or you just looked up to her?
She was actively a mentor. We were in the same clinic together, and I would ask her questions about why does she do certain things, and she would, guide me into her decision making and, clinical skills in terms of being a nurse practitioner and evidence-based practices and things of that nature. So she was definitely a mentor to me.
And how long did you practice as an RN before you did go back to grad school?
I was an RN for, I think it was 13 years.
Pretty long there.
Like 13 years. And 13 years, it was because I became a nurse practitioner in 2003. So 13 years from when I became a nurse practitioner.
And we see a lot of letters after your name. Can you explain what those are?
Yes. So I have a master's of science in nursing, and then I am dually certified, one as a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner and one as a pediatric nurse practitioner. So,
and did you go to the same school for all of these?
Actually, no. I went to the Catholic University of America for my pediatric nurse practitioner degree for MSN. And then I went back to the George Washington University. Yes, I see that you attended there too.
Twice?
That's amazing. That's where I attended for my postmaster's to earn my psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner.
Okay, wonderful. And we want to shout out to two of our TMI alum, Kirby Williams, who is a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner in Richmond.
Yes.
She's come on to talk to us about bipolar, which right now is the #1 watch show of 2025, and vicarious trauma, which was an episode dedicated to our peers. And then Dr. Anya Atabang out there in Maryland, she talked to us about her transition from the ER to primary care and mental health. And she is also with Kirby, two of the three co-founders of the Society of Psychiatric Mental Health Nurse Practitioners of Color. So shout out to them. Their second annual conference is coming up, I want to say in September.
I'm already there. I've signed up. I will be there. And I went to their first inaugural and I became a member of the society.
I was just about to say, they just opened membership. So
yes.
Wonderful. They're doing amazing.
Yes.
Okay. So now you're in grad school, you've been an NP. So at the point that I'm talking to you, how long have you been a nurse practitioner?
I've been a nurse practitioner since 2003. So I've been practicing as a pediatric nurse practitioner since 2003. And it was pediatric, and I worked in an adolescent clinic. So I love my teens. I've always loved my teens.
Yeah. And so you've been doing this for a long time. A lot of people in your shoes would be thinking about retirement, but not Jean. Jean said, you know what? I've got some ideas. So walk us through that transition to decide to build your own thing.
Yes. Well, I have to tell you that practicing as a nurse practitioner in adolescent clinic, pediatrics has been something I've always loved to do. And I got into a comfort zone. I was really in my comfort zone. loved what I was doing. A lot of people would come to me and seek advice and guidance. I nurtured new nurse practitioners. I helped nurse practitioner students. I was in a zone. I was in a comfort zone. And then something happened. My son was diagnosed with lung cancer, and he was diagnosed this month, May 12th, 2019. And for 19 months, my son fought a great battle. It was amazing to witness. And Julian showed me a lot of things. It's like you think you're going to teach your children, not even realizing that your children are going to teach you some things. And so Julian showed me many things. One, how to stay in the present moment. Two, how gratitude makes a big difference in a person's life. So no matter what we're going through, if we can focus on gratitude, it really shifts perspective. It doesn't change what's going on, but it can shift our perspective. And three, how life is so short that we really have to seize the moment and do the things that we love to do and not do the things that we think we're to do, you know. So that's kind of what happened. So my son was diagnosed in 2020 and he died December 28th. Excuse me, he was diagnosed in 2019 and he died December 28th, 2020. And I know that because of that, he helped me see that life is really short and I have to really do the things that I'm called to do. Because one thing he would say, he was doing God's will, that he would love to do his will where he's able to stay here on earth and do what things that he wants to do as a kid. He was 27 when he passed. So, those are just some things that kind of inspired me. I had a hard time initially. Um, I didn't want to get out the bed, truthfully, but I knew he wouldn't want that for me. And that's one thing Julian was very concerned about was his family. He was really concerned about my husband, myself. He was really concerned about my daughter, his sister. And so I said, I have to honor his legacy. I have to keep moving forward for him.
Yes, so thank you. That would be your turning point, right?
Yeah, it was my turning point, excuse me. That was the turning point. And I said, Jean, what is it? What do you want? And one thing I always love, I love working with my teens. But the one thing that bothered me was I could see so many youth going through so many different struggles. And I love spending time with them. But, in primary care setting, you just don't have that opportunity. I would bring my kids back in for follow-up. But I'll never forget after Julian's service and after, regrouping, when I returned to work, my very first patient was a patient that I had seen many times before. And she was coming in for a follow-up. She needed, medication refill. I asked about her family because I knew her mom, I knew her brother. She had a twin. So we talked about many things, and she shared with me that her mother had died. And I was, really like surprised. And I said, how are you grieving? And she looked at me and said, what? I said, what are you doing for your grief? She said, nothing. And I was really taken aback because I realized our kids are grieving and they don't know how to process. I'm a grown adult and I'm having a hard time. So I'm thinking, wow, what's happening with our kids? How are they processing their grief? And so it just became a question. I just became really intrigued by that.
And so that question led you to take action. What was your first step? Why didn't you just write an article, go to a conference and speak on stage? What drew you in the direction of starting your own business?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kimberly, for asking all these questions because it's pretty amazing. I want to say I have to give God, really the honor in this too, because I asked God to guide me, to direct my footsteps, and He certainly has been doing that. And so my question just became something where I was really intrigued, and I started doing some research, and I can share with you like 1 in 9 kids in Washington, D.C. alone um, are bereaved children up to 18 years of age, and the number gets higher if you count youth going up to 25 years of age. And 1 in 11 kids in Maryland are bereaved children. And so this is either a loss of a parent or a sibling that is included in these numbers. But when you think about our kids, some are being raised by their grandparents, some have legal guardians, and that's not even in the account of how many kids are bereaved. And yet, a lot of times our kids don't have a space to grieve. They are expected to move on in their life as if nothing happened because unfortunately that's what happens in society. I'll never forget when I went back to work. I wanted to scream to everybody, like, I lost my son. Unfortunately, you can't do that while you're seeing your patients. You have to be professional and take care of your patients. There may be some that knew me and I was able to confide in them or share with them, but it's not something that you would do in a regular practice. And my curiosity really got the best of me. So I'm a part of National Association of Pediatric Nurse Practitioners, and what I did was I submitted an abstract to explore how to address grief in the primary care setting. And it was actually accepted, and I was able to speak at our convention last year about addressing grief in the primary care setting. And that actually went really well, it was well received. And from there, I created a grief module so that anybody can access this module and gain some CUs if they were interested. Because, I think it can be very uncomfortable if you are like getting an assessment on your child and realize they lost someone. Some people may just gloss over it and not really want to address it simply for fear of upsetting them. But we know that when you lose a loved one, someone bringing it up to me is not going to upset me. It's there. I live with it every single day. And being able to just be open and honest and talk about it as if it's not a taboo subject can be really, healing. It can be healing for others. So I found that to be very important. So I think that was well received. And I said, I volunteered my time with the Went Center, which is an organization within Washington, D.C., that does a fantastic job helping youth, children, youth, adolescents, adult, in their grieving journey. So they do individual therapy as well as group therapy. And they had this wonderful camp during the summertime for youth, and it's different age groups. So they have young ones, I think 6, 7, 8 years old, and then they have the preteens, and then they have one group for teens. And I've been able to volunteer and help out with that. And I tell you what, I I gravitate to the adolescents, okay? That's just my go-to. I have worked with younger kids, and that's been an eye-opening experience, and I've worked with the preteens, and that was just an amazing experience. They can teach you some things, and that's what I love about children. I mean, we always wanna think we're gonna teach our children something, but they can teach us some things too.
And so when did you decide you wanted to turn those experiences and that positive feedback into an actual business?
Yeah, I've really been thinking about it for quite a while. Like, even before I became a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner, it was something on my mind. I wanted to just do an adolescent practice and have a Jean Fletcher clinic,
Mm.
And what really did it for me, solidified it, is almost my son helped kind of guide me into what I really needed to do. And I really saw the importance of dealing, working individually with youth going through grief and traumatic events. Like I mentioned, I work with teens who are experiencing substance use disorders, and I can share most of them have dealt with some type of traumatic event or loss in their life. And if we could just work with the youth on an individual level and group level, because group is synergy. You can gain so much knowledge and insight just working together in a group setting that can really help in the healing journey. I'm not going to say it's going to be the be all fix all, not at all, but I think it can, I believe in planting seeds to just help plant that seed.
A heart attack does not always look like the movies. It does not always come with someone clutching their chest and falling to the floor, especially not in women, and especially not in Black and brown women. Here are the signs: chest discomfort, pressure, squeezing, fullness, or pain that lasts more than a few minutes or goes away and comes back. Discomfort in the upper body, one or both arms, the back, the neck, the jaw, or the stomach. Shortness of breath with or without chest discomfort. And other signs that women more commonly experience include nausea, lightheadedness, and unusual fatigue that comes on suddenly and feels different from normal tiredness. Women are more likely than men to have a heart attack without classic chest pain, and research shows that women's symptoms are more likely to be dismissed by care teams and by themselves. Do not dismiss yours. If you think something is wrong with your heart, call 911. Do not drive yourself to the hospital. Do not wait for symptoms to pass. Aspirin may help if you are not allergic, but call 911 first. Know the signs, trust your body, act fast. This message is brought to you by the Melanin Initiative podcast, where we simplify health information so you can advocate for yourself and the people you love. Find us on Apple and Spotify.
And so was the idea of starting the business to carry on your son's legacy? Were you getting tired of working for someone else? Were you looking for more flexibility? Were you trying to have a nest egg for retirement? What made you decide to take that leap and look for opportunities to get some help?
I would like to say it's everything, but it's mostly my son, because I decided Julian, I want his legacy to continue, and I want that through his foundation. And I can, even though it has not been formalized, I can share with you that it's been 5 years in December since Julian passed away. We've given out this year in May, it would be the fifth scholarship at my church in Julian's name. And the scholarship it goes to a college student who is studying psychology, because Julian, he studied psychology at Hampton University. And his goal was to become a psychologist.
Mhm.
So that's one thing. I, as a nurse practitioner, my dream was to have a practice where Julie would be the psychologist,
Mm.
and my daughter was she's sociology was her major, and she does a great job with grants, and found like she works with foundation um, and help with philanthropy and grants. She's a project manager, so she was going to help, gain those grants for me and help me to build my practice. That was the dream prior to Julian getting ill.
Mm.
And so after that, because Julian has showed me so much with gratitude and how we can embrace gratitude every day. It's not going to change the situation, but it certainly can help, shift the perspective. and also breathing. He was a big fan of breathing, and that's something that I definitely incorporate, even today with my kids when I'm seeing my patients. I teach them breathing methods, particularly box breathing. I've been really blessed because I have, my soul sisters, and, we meditate together Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays, and this is a time where we breathe together and we do other things together to support one another.
Mhm.
So, it's just something that I found for him. I want to honor his legacy through the foundation, and the foundation would have the clinical component of, um, helping youth with grief and trauma.
Okay, so you had a dream to build something for your family.
Yes,
Julian's unexpected passing took that dream a little bit further. You
yes,
started the foundation, which is a nonprofit portion of the business, right?
yes,
And the clinical practice will actually be for profit.
yes.
And so you've been running the nonprofit, totally fine. You have the support of your church, and you already have a kind of a built-in audience. So now you're in the part of doing the for-profit work. How did you come across Duke?
Again, I wanna say I thank God for this because it was a divine intervention. I'm a part of a group, the Elite Nurse Practitioner group in the DMV area, and, I think it was Trish, she just put it out there, "Hey, guys, I was a part of the Duke MPEP, or Nurse Practitioner Entrepreneur Program. They're about to open up, another round. If you're interested, there's an interest session that's happening." And I thought, "Oh, wow, this is something that I really could benefit from." And I said, "Imma check out the interest session." And I did. And my first thought, honestly, was, "I can't afford another dollar in education right now," but I said, "I'll check it out." And I learned that it was sponsored by Johnson& and Johnson. So I was just like, "Wow, this is an amazing opportunity." And so I was able to apply for it, and this is where I poured my dreams out. I shared what I shared with you today, I shared it all. It was all my dreams written out on paper, and it was a very difficult application because you have to, um show what your business plan is, what your business model is gonna be. I don't know much about being an entrepreneur other than I have a best friend, Dawn Jackson, shout out to Dawn, who has her own business, and I would just watch her in action and learn some things from her. And she always encouraged me, always shared that I can do this too. And, I just allowed my what ifs to always get in my way, or my caution. I was always a cautious person, always allowed other reasons, security, because frankly, working at a location I've been working at is security in its own right, you know. I've been blessed in that sense. So a lot of reasons why I didn't pursue my dreams. But Julian showed me that life is so short that you gotta go for your dreams, you gotta do it. So I poured my dreams out onto this application process, and, I found out December 29th of this past year that I was accepted into the program, and they accepted 20 nurse practitioners across the United States. So I was in honor, I was just in awe, I was very thankful. I couldn't believe it, and I said, "Wow, I'm watching my dreams unfold right in front of me." Couldn't believe it.
Yeah, and so you had the mentor when you were a nurse who inspired you to be an NP. You have Dawn, who's been an entrepreneur, you've been around her this whole time.
Yes.
You joined the NP Entrepreneur Group in DMV.
Yeah.
That was your network.
Yes.
Our network equals our net worth. Again, John Hope Bryant says, if you're around 9 broke people, you're going to be number 10. The same can be true. If you're around 9 entrepreneurs, you're probably going to be the next one. And you demonstrated that. Now, when you said Johnson & Johnson sponsored it, I just want to be clear, that means they paid for the whole thing. It's free.
Yes.
Absolutely. And Johnson & Johnson is a wonderful company. They've been huge supporters of nursing for a very, very, very long time. They pour a lot of money into us, regardless of your specialty, and they're a wonderful stock investment. So when we talk about building wealth and making your money work for you, this is money that grows while you're sleeping, and you're looking for a company to invest in. Johnson & Johnson is one of those stocks. So now you're in the program. Was this your first time trying to like participate either with a coach or something that was actually going to help you? Had you taken any courses? Because you said you said yourself, I don't know anything about entrepreneurship. So did you start with a book, YouTube? What did you actually start?
It's pretty amazing because I started, it was the Elite NP. That's how I started. Justin was really a teacher. I learned and gained so much insight from him, and I would listen to his podcast. Then I learned about Barbara Phillips, and I actually started following her on social media and would go to her website and learn some things. And it's amazing because she is a part of the program, the Duke and Pep program. And I kid you not, when I first spoke to her, you would have thought I was talking to Michael Jackson or somebody, a superstar. I was just like, I've been following you for so many years. It's such an honor to meet you. So that was it chuckled me because I didn't expect that reaction. But yeah, she was somebody that I would follow.
Yeah, and shout out to both of them. Barbara has been around, I believe, since 2008. In particular, talking about business for nurse practitioners.
Yes.
She has created community. Again, that's that network, right?
Yes.
And then Justin comes along later, right? So my connection, so me and you are both in this DMV NP entrepreneur group, and I saw your announcement and I jumped on it.
Yes.
That's why you're here. And I have my own Justin story. So when I first graduated, when I was at GW at their BSN to DMP program, I didn't know I was going to graduate in the middle of that. And a lot of my colleagues had already started being an NP, and they were telling me, how grueling the schedule was. The day, bringing work home and charting it on the weekend still. And because I was working and also in school, I already had work at night and on the weekend. So I didn't really see how that transition was going to be very successful for me, as well as less stress as possible. So I decided to wait until I finished the full program. But in the meantime, I wanted to have my foot in the community. So the Nurse Practitioner Association of DC had a position for students. So I joined that. I became the student rep for the board. And now I'm at a whole different level, hearing about problems. And everyone just welcomed me in like I've been doing this forever. And I'm so grateful for that. And then I started helping with the DMPs of Color, started by the Dr. Danielle McCamey, president, founder, and CEO of DMPs of Color. At the time, it was just a social media platform. And then it grew into membership, which I'm proud to say I'm one of the first 500. But at the time, we were doing everything virtually. And I was helping with the annual conference. And she had talked, so now I'm following her, I'm talking to her all the time during these meetings. And she said she was on a podcast. And so I went to listen to her episode. And that was the Dr. Nurse podcast by another NP, Sandra Pagenta, out there in Florida. And she had I went to look at the rest of the episode, see what else she was talking about. And I saw one title that said NP makes $450,000 a year. Everybody's going to listen to that episode, myself included. And she was talking to Justin Allen, this family nurse practitioner who has started this company called the Elite NP. And right before that time, or during that time, I was really learning about financial literacy and how it parallels health literacy, right? We don't learn about it at home. We don't learn about it in school, yet we're given the full responsibility.
Yes.
And so whether it's your finances or your health, you have all this responsibility without the knowledge. And particularly when it comes to financial literacy, it's this idea of understanding how money works, knowing that you only make money in the day and you can only build wealth at night, just having that distinction, and that the true path to financial freedom, which is being able to do what you want, when you want, with the people you want to do it with. You can't do that as an employee.
Right.
You have to do the work. So the only way to be able to get to that point is to build wealth. And the two paths are business and entrepreneurship. But everyone teaching me wasn't in healthcare. So here I am spending my life away in school,
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, I'm not even going to be able to use this stuff. I'm going to be busy building a business. That's really at the point I was. And then when I found out that Justin existed and he created this whole empire teaching us how to escape. He has his own way of how he describes the industry, but a pathway, that first step. This is your first step to building a business, to building wealth, to getting to financial freedom. When I found out he existed, it changed my whole life. And I always give him credit to saying he changed my life.
Yes.
Because now I'm not abandoning these 20 years I've just spent in academia. Now I can actually utilize it to capitalize on it and to build wealth for my family and change the trajectory of our future. And so I don't care what anybody says. I love that guy.
Yes, yes.
He's changed my life too. And so him and Barbara really have been pioneers in this space when it comes to nurses and NPs. So I'm not surprised that he also interjected in your life. And so you find Justin, you took some of his courses?
No, actually, I just listened to his podcast and
information, a wealth of information. The guy couldn't be more generous. Literally,
it's so true.
He gives it all away. He shares his personal life. He's had ups and downs. He's gotten married and divorced, and he has been so public. He's got the website, the courses, the podcast, now the in-person conference. We love Justin.
One day, I mean, I haven't been able to attend yet, but I said,
and he's got the Millionaire Summit. I'm definitely have my name on that one. I want to be in that room.
Yes.
So you learn about Justin, then you must have seen the post about the group.
Yes.
That's how you ended up in the group.
Yeah.
And that's how you learned about the program. And that's when you applied.
It's pretty amazing because the way I really found out about the group is when I was in school for the psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. I was looking for a preceptor, and I came across a young lady, and she, GW was kind of funny because she didn't have enough time under her belt as a psych MP. So she couldn't precept me. But in the meantime, she was like, oh, let me tell you about this program. And that's how she introduced me because I had heard about it, but I didn't know how to get into it. And she invited me in. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, it is invite only.
Yes.
And shout out to our visionary founder.
Yes.
Who brought us all together.
That's exactly.
Right there in the DMV. Wouldn't have even known we all existed if it wasn't for her.
Exactly. So I'll say thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So this is a 12-month program. It's already started a little bit. So now you can actually tell us a little bit from the inside. So how would you describe the program so far?
The program is so well organized. I can tell you, we had our first retreat. So we met in person in the middle of February. But prior to that, we met several times online. So they really kind of helped build that connection with each other. And they provided all the details about all the nurse practitioners that were participating. So you were able to know who you were going to be meeting. And we met it was like towards the end of February. And I tell you what, you think it was going to be all about business, but it wasn't. It was about leadership. It was about business. And it was also about well-being.
Mm-hmm.
So they were like, in order to start your own business, you're going to have to be able to take care of yourself. In order to take care of yourself, you should have these things in place. And then as nurse practitioners, of course, we're leaders. We provide advocacy. We're always advocating for our patients. We're doing different things, not just clinical. So they really wanted to know, do you know how you are as a leader? Do you know what your strengths are? Do you know? So these are some of the things they wanted to assess and help, bring to your awareness. Some nurse practitioners are a little younger, but it was a very diverse group. So I can share, I'm not the oldest, I don't think, but I may be. I'm not sure because we age very well. the people. It's really hard to tell, but it was just a combination of young nurse practitioners, older nurse practitioners, um, men and women, all diverse groups. So it was really good.
Wonderful. And so you have this program. It runs from January to December.
Yes.
How often do you have to meet online, like synchronously?
Yeah, so for the most part, so we have a mentor. So we're broken up into four. So because it's 20 of us, is a group of four per group, and we have a mentor. And our mentor, she works with us really closely to um, help us develop our business plans. And we meet with her on a monthly basis. We certainly can meet sooner if we want. We meet with Barbara for business twice a month. And then we may have another activity that we may have to do. So I would say we're given at least 4 evenings a month, which is not bad at all. We just have a lot of work, a lot of homework to do.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give Barbara her flowers. Barbara she's a Black woman, right?
Yes, she is.
Yeah, she's a Black woman. She has a podcast. She's built this online community. She's authored some books.
Yes, she has.
And she's also created some courses. Yeah, and she's very, very good at what she does.
So knowledgeable, has a lot of insight, excellent advice, and just sincerely wants to help all of us. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's very honest about, what sounds good and what looks good isn't always the full picture. I think she does a beautiful job of that. Highly appreciate that. Okay, so it runs January to December. And you have a syllabus?
Yeah, we have a syllabus. It's not like a school format, but we do work within a program, and we have assignments that we have to upload and do other things. So yeah.
Is there a community where you have to answer, write and answer, and everyone has to respond to
It's
each
not
other?
that intense. A lot of things are really personal in the sense that we don't have to share. So it's not like Blackboard forum where you're having to, share your insights or thoughts about a research article or anything like that. It's not
What
like
about your business?
Yeah. So with our circle, they call it a circle. So with my circle, it's the mentor plus 4 nurse practitioners. That's when we really share and open up about what we're doing, but we do it as a group as well. And I can tell you, like the 20 of us, we're all on a group text together. We kind of share things. There are some providers who already have their practice up and running. They're getting the support that they need, because it's one thing to be an entrepreneur and have your practice. It's another thing to have a business and you're doing everything, so they're getting the guidance that they need to help, you know, with their practice so that they can grow their business. And they really say business enterprise because, it may look something different for each of us. We all have our own goals and dreams for our business.
Exactly. I always call it a nursing business, not a nursing practice, because I say just because you take care of patients, it doesn't mean your business has to take care of patients. And because staying in business is very difficult, you are doing everything. And we see such a high rate of bankruptcy and shutting businesses down in just a matter of 2 or 3 years. It shows that business owners need a lot of help. And so if you're looking for a business to create a business that keeps another business in business. That is literally what I say all the time. My favorite business model is B2B for that reason, because they can't do everything. They need help. Your patient's finicky. They can come and go to someone else. But that business owner, they need all the help they can get.
Yes, I love that.
Okay, so when you meet with the mentor, it's the whole group at that time, and you all set up your own private text message, but the university hasn't given you like a board to talk?
No, I can tell you we're on Canva. Are you familiar with Canva?
Yeah.
And we're on that platform, And we probably could, but I think we're just kind of utilizing the text thread right now and communicating as things start gearing up.
Oh, okay.
I
This
can
is
see,
also feedback for the program, right? If they're
yeah,
like, "Oh, they wanna communicate, let's do that," but they've already done that, you guys just aren't utilizing it, which happens quite a lot. And for those listening who aren't familiar with Canva, not to be confused with the Canva design graphic platform. This
right,
is very similar to your Blackboard, very pretty much the same, just a different name. Okay,
yes.
so so right now is the whole idea to get a business plan? Like, what's the actual goal at the end of the 12 months?
Yeah, so the goal at the end of the 12 months is to, like, in December, we meet again in person, and this is when we present our business plans and
Mhm.
what we have done and what we're gonna be moving forward and doing. So, it's fascinating, a lot of work, and like I said, some people already have their business, and they might be restructuring or doing some other things with their practice or business.
Okay, so we're gonna do some personal questions, right? That's gonna ask you to do what you ask your clients to do, your patients all the time, is to be a little vulnerable with us. What are
Can
you most afraid of? Not the surface answer. What's the one thing that keeps you up at night about this decision?
I think I think it's probably failing.
Yeah.
Yeah. How like, what if I mess up? What if, it doesn't launch the way I want it to? Yeah.
And I say it's because we're literally trained not to fail. That is literally what we get paid for. And so that whole concept is very foreign, but it is absolutely the language in entrepreneurship. It is the only way you get to that idea that you're really meant to implement, because the thing in your head is never the thing that's in real life. You have to do the work to really get there. And because we do that analysis paralysis, we think we can perfect the idea in our head, but it's really the execution.
It's
And
the
in doing the thing, that's how you start to perfect it. And perfection is a journey. You're never going to actually get there.
You're never gonna get
It's
there.
the iteration of it. But unless you're talking about it, unless you're doing it, it doesn't get to where it needs to be. So
Mhm.
that fear, we all have it. That imposter syndrome, even though you've been doing this for 2 decades, it's brand new. And so
Yeah,
your confidence is fresh. This is where you really need those affirmations, where that network becomes so important,
it's so
and where taking care of yourself is essential. It's non-negotiable.
it is non-negotiable. It's so key. And I have to say that there another fear that I have is succeeding because I'm like, "What does that look like?"
Yeah.
That's a scary thought too.
Mhm.
So, but one thing that I have learned, my friend Dawn, my bestie, she will tell me all the time, was like, it's about growth. It's not about failing or messing up. In the process, we're going to learn something, and you go with that. And that's the thing I have to remind myself all the time. And I think Julian has helped me see it. Like, we're here but for a short time, and, it's not about failing or, messing up or anything of that nature. It's really about learning and growing. And we're doing that every day. That's the path that we're on, to learn and grow every day.
Okay, and so it's a 12-month program. The goal at the end sounds like to have a business plan. Now, what
Mm.
about the people who already have their business running? What's the goal there?
Yeah, so everyone's goals are different. So some are expanding their business. Some are restructuring. So it's everything is shaping up to. Frankly, I'm gonna tell you, my goal was initially when I started the program, I was like, I think I'm gonna have something by December of 2026, and now I'm looking at that. I'm like, I could probably start a little something a little bit sooner than that. I don't think I have to wait till December, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Um, and you meet just twice in person?
Yep, just twice. So
Okay,
we
and so
met in February, and then it will culminate in December.
Okay. And so I want to offer just some clarity for people watching, because a lot of us come into this being new to entrepreneurship and business. And so we really don't know. We really don't know what it is. And because we do spend so much of our lives in school, every time we want to level up, we think we have to go back to school. Now, I love this opportunity because we don't see a lot of entrepreneurship in nursing curriculum. Now it is growing, but there's still a lot of room for improvement. I actually did take an entrepreneurship innovation course at GW.
Okay.
But this whole NP entrepreneur program, it's still pretty novel. And so that's why we're highlighting it, because we want people to know all their options. But I also want people to know that every time you want to level up, it doesn't mean you have to go back to school. A lovely woman, and I have to figure out who she was, she said, we have a stack of certifications, but we don't have a stack of cash. We will keep going back to school to help overcome that fear, to build up our confidence, thinking it will get rid of the imposter syndrome, and it won't.
Right.
But it will create more debt, especially if you're not financially literate and you know how to manage your money. Just because you make a lot of money doesn't mean you know how to manage it. We still live paycheck to paycheck. People are still house poor. They still have no assets. They still don't have anything to pass down to their family. You can't make the assumption that just because you make a lot, you or your business, that you'll know how to manage it. And manage it means that if you step away, it still runs and you can take something with you when you leave.
Absolutely. That is a key point that we're gaining insight on right now.
Yeah. And when it comes to business in particular, you don't need any of this, because all of this is a business. This is a business too. And the marketing is brilliant. We pick up these books and stuff like that, but we've actually been living in a marketing funnel. Right? Our parents were the primary lead magnet. They told all of their kids to go to school.
Yes.
Get a good degree, assuming that that's going to give you a good check, and assuming they're going to pay you well, and that's going to give you a good life. But none of those things are guaranteed. Actually, none of those things are guaranteed. People go to Harvard and end up on the street every single day. Yes. People never go to college. Some people are high school dropouts, and they're billionaires.
Yes.
Because it's the execution. It's the network, working the network, right? And so, yes, you can go back to school. Yes, you can go take a course. Yes, you can read a book. You can do all those things. You can do none of those things. It comes down to the execution. It can take 12 weeks. It can take 12 months.
Yes.
It's up to you. Yes. But one thing you can't do it by yourself. At the time that we're talking, I'm just coming back from Tampa, Florida, where I was a speaker and a panelist at the Nurses Making Business Move conference, the premier business conference for nurses, founded by our visionary leader, Dr. Farah Laurent. She also is a TMI alum. She's been on here 3 times talking about her own journey. Talk about loneliness and entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is very lonely. It is very lonely. You spent most of this time talking about your passion. No one else is as passionate as you. Yes. And they don't want to hear about it all the time.
Right.
And that's heartbreaking. When you first get into this, the people around you, they always tell you, talk to your people right there. Those people, they don't always want to hear about your dream. Because you know what I learned? And it was hard at first.
Mm-hmm.
Because the people who I can actually touch, right? You're my internet friend. But the people I can actually touch, they're actually already supporting me as a person. And that's a 24-hour job. So then when I come and say, hey, watch this, do this, listen to this, they're already at their max. So if they do support you, consider it wonderful, be grateful. But if they don't, consider it, be wonderful, and still be grateful, because they're doing for you what your clients can never do.
Right.
So that is a hard pill to swallow when you first get over here. And that's why that network is so important. Other people who are struggling through this, just like you, who are delusional to believe we can do this thing together. And that's why you have to be, like we said, those 9 people. If you're around those 9 delusional people, you'll be the 10th one, making money in your sleep. Okay. Building that wealth in your sleep.
I love that.
Yeah. And also because unlike this program, which I love, which is paid for, a lot of those programs are not paid for. And that takes you into further debt, which is what we want to avoid, especially if you don't know how to manage the debt. It's one thing to have debt and have a plan on how to pay it off. It's another thing to just hope it goes away because you're going to get a job as an NP, or because you're going to get a job, you're going to start a business. All of us have multiple jobs, wear multiple hats for that very reason. Yes, I don't know one nurse that only does one thing. right? And that's because we don't negotiate. That's another conversation for another day. So tell us, at the end of this year, what do you want to be able to come back and say you've accomplished?
I want to share that I started seeing patients independently outside of an establishment. That is my practice. I want to share that Julian's foundation is flourishing, thriving. I want to share that with that, we have the component of the clinical component helping youth with grief and trauma. So I'll explain all the wonderful, the exciting things that occurred along the way and insight and knowledge that I gained, and definitely sharing it with others.
Yeah, speaking of those others, one thing you're helping us do is to show our older adults, which by 2030, older adults will be the largest segment of our population. 1 in 5 adults will be 65 and older. We have people who are 25 and 28 talking about their life is over because they didn't get into that program because they're not married because they haven't had children yet, which blows my mind. But here you are, you're a woman of a certain age, and you're starting something new. I want you to speak to that viewer who's watching you and sees themselves in your story. What's one word that they need to hear that you needed to hear before you applied to that program at Duke?
I would say hope. I mean, that's the biggest thing. If you have hope, you can do anything. You can do anything. And, age is a number. God has us here. He knows the number of hairs on our head. So we don't know when our time is up. But while we're here, we have to honor God and do all that we can to serve him. And for me, my ministry is healthcare. My ministry is working with youth. And so if you are here breathing, take the time and do some deep breathing exercise and know that you are here for a reason. There's hope. And I think that's the most important thing. Yeah.
And how can we support you? Do you have someplace we can follow you? Anything we can do to support the foundation?
Kimberly, I have to say that I am on social media. I'm on LinkedIn. I think it's under Jean Fletcher. I should know this by heart, but I don't. But I'm Jean Fletcher, and I think I'm listed as psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner as well as pediatric nurse practitioner. So if you did a search, you could find me there. And I definitely have ways that people can support Julian's foundation. We have his scholarship is up this month, and because it's in May, and because it's year 5, I have planned to double what I've been given, from his foundation. So there are definitely ways I would love to share that, but I can't share right now.
And if you would, and you can say no, you can always say no. I would love to dedicate this series, even when you're gone and we move on to the next NP entrepreneur building their dream. I would love to dedicate this series to your son, Julian, if you'll let us.
It is absolutely yes. I thank you for that. That is so meaningful. So thank you.
Yeah, if you're kind enough to send us a picture, we would love to share his picture and we'll put his name up every episode. That's what we would really love to be able to do.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any parting words for the audience before I do my sign out?
I would like to share that Julian was an artist. He was a musician. He did music. And if possible, when you share his picture, I would love to just share one of his songs. He did one titled "I Got My Breath," because with lung cancer, that was something that he really honored, breathing. And I said we minimize breathing, but just doing some simple breathing exercises can really change the energy that we're experiencing.
Yeah, absolutely would love to do that. And we would love to have you on separately from your series to talk about pediatric grief, because until you said it, I never even heard it or thought about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that because that carries into adults that we're taking care of, that I'm taking care of right now.
Absolutely. Yes. I would love to share more about that too.
Yeah, and we haven't covered lung cancer either. So
And that's a big one because I can share with you, Julian's provider really just minimized what was going on with him. He developed a cough, and we can go into details about that later, but it was like, when I called the provider to say he has lung cancer, he basically said, "Miss Fletcher, that's a zebra." So I
Mm.
think that's the way you see it, but no, young people are being diagnosed with lung cancer, and it's unfortunate. He was a non-smoker.
Yes, very important topic. Well, we thank you for letting us follow your journey. We'll be praying for you till we see you again.
Yes.
We encourage you to put yourself first as much as possible. It is a challenge, but as much as you can, stay hydrated, try to get some quality sleep.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to ask for help.
And to be honest with you, I sleep very well. I sleep like a baby at night. I do. I've been
You get 8 hours?
I get at least 7.5, 8 hours of sleep.
Okay.
I
We
do.
wanna check back in with you once your practice is open.
I know, exactly, because sleep is so important to me. I don't function very well if I don't sleep.
That's why as soon as you can get help, you wanna get that help, right? And so actually, this is a great topic to sign us out on. You have to delegate at home just like you delegate at work. Your first hire might be a virtual assistant, might be a personal assistant, someone who does the groceries, someone who's cleaning your house, who remembers all those birthdays and sends out gifts. The little things you're not gonna be able to keep up with, scheduling your own healthcare appointments, clearing your inbox, setting up meetings like this one, all that back and forth dialogue that goes on between you accepting an opportunity and showing up for that opportunity. Whatever you can delegate that doesn't require you want to do that. When you do that personally, you learn how to identify that professionally really quickly because only you can deliver your vision.
Yes.
But a lot of people might be able to sit and chat with your client. And both of those are full-time jobs, and you can only have one. Yes.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah. So, folks, what you just heard is real. We do a lot of case studies with you, but today this is a real one. Jean Fletcher, she's a nurse practitioner making a real decision in real time. She's not our case study. She's not hypothetical. She is one of us. And she said yes to letting this community walk with her through one of the most significant professional years of her life. And my takeaway, the decision is the hardest part. Taking action is the hardest part. Not the funding, not the business plan. Some people don't even have a business plan, and not the program. The decision to believe that what you know, what you have built, what God has placed in your heart, what you see is worth building towards. Jean made that decision, and she's making it every single day that she wakes up. And the only difference between her and you still waiting is that she stopped waiting. We'll be back with her all year long to find out and check in how her perspective changes, what works and what doesn't work. A lot of things aren't going to work. That person who can shoot that one basket every single time like that is because they practice it 10,000 times.
Yes.
10,000 times, and they failed 9,999 times. And they kept showing up because if you stay consistent and persistent, your business will grow. And when it grows, you're going to need help. It might be a personal assistant, it might be an executive assistant, and it might be AI. It's a beautiful time to get into business because you have so many resources when your time and your capital are limited to be able to take that dollar and make it stretch.
Yes.
If this episode gave you something, share it with at least one person. Someone in your circle is sitting on an idea right now. They need to hear that someone who looks just like them is doing it. And they're not afraid to share. They're not afraid to share the failures. Find us on Apple and Spotify. Leave us a 5-star review and tell us what topics you want us to cover in the future. If you really love this series, and we invite you to check out our other Becoming series, Becoming a Physician, Becoming Doctor of Nursing Practice, Becoming a Midwife. If you're a nurse practitioner and you want to go deeper on the business and clinical side of healthcare, I invite you to visit the Mahogany Dermatology blog or the nursing bookstore, or consider becoming a founding member of the Alliance of Cosmetic Nurse Practitioners. Those links are below. We want to thank Jean for joining us, and we thank you all for watching us. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.